Well, hello and welcome to PM Express. TV license to pay or not to pay has been a hot debate. And just like everything else, there's all these things where, well, you pay and then we'll deliver the service later. And it's become the big chicken and egg. Do you deliver the service before we pay, or should we pay and sit at home and then you deliver the service? But then it has gotten to a point where you can't seem to trust them, because there are certain lapses where indeed, whether we pay TV license or not, you just don't expect it even from Edumasa TV, let alone whole Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. There are some mishaps that are not accepted. And so if you sit at home and they say you should pay, sometimes it's not the quantum of the money, but it's just the idea that, listen, you don't see the guy making that, going the extra 9 yards, and therefore why should I pay? However, it's law, and the law is the law is the law. 50 years, 100 years, until it's repealed, it's the law, and we have to abide by it. So where do we stand? Do we repeal the law, or do we obey the law and pay? And then what? Sit at home and wait for the improvement, or the improvement will start coming before? That's where we are. That's the school of thought. Some agree that, listen, the state is not funding GBC as it's supposed to, and therefore the little TV licenses that you and I will pay, will go a long way to help them. Others are saying, look, but these guys are in the market also hustling for the same commercials. There are TV stations that are far smaller and are in there grafting for the little they can get on the same market, and they are surviving, and they are growing, and they are producing content, and indeed their viewership is expanding. So then GBC, with all its might and national and regional presence, why can't you go out there and also graft and probably even make, you could get a bigger share of the market than the smaller TV stations would? I don't know. I remember once upon a time asking that, why don't you let your viewers or your listeners know that, you have presence in all regions, and that, you can tune into one radio station in Accra and literally drive all the way near to Burkina Faso, and it won't change, because as you drive through the regions, they will be handing you over to other radio stations. And they said, as a policy, we're not allowed to do that. But I thought one of the bragging rights of every media house was its reach. And if you have the reach and your policy is not to let people know that you have the reach, how are you competing in the market? Folks, my name is Nana Ansakwa IV, Chief of the Little Republic of Akomo Edumasa. And as little as you are, we have a big bragging right, even though we haven't got that much of a reach. When I come back, we are talking to, good school of thoughts as to, do we pay these licenses, do we not pay, and how do we justify value for money? Don't go. Well, thank you very much for staying with me in the studio. My own brother, who I haven't seen in a while. He can run, but he can't hide. Elvis Darko sat right next to me, editor of The Finder. And you're coming back on the 8th.
Yeah, Monday.
Monday the 8th, The Finder will be out there. So if you haven't seen The Finder, don't panic. Don't panic. They are gathering some hot stories for you. And then I have a first timer, so we're going to charge him Amban Temunsa Kweku Boche, who is a lecturer at NAFTI. Kweku, you're welcome.
Thanks, Nana.
Me and my viewers and I, it's like I'm here, so if this is your first time, you Amban Temunsa.
I will gladly say.
Joining us on the phone later will be the former Director General of GBC, Mr. William Ampim Darko, and then also Executive Secretary of NMC, Mr. Samuel Sapon. Will always all join on the phone, and then we get their take on this issue. But let me start with you, Elvis. I mean, Elvis, to pay or not to pay? That's the first thing.
Oh, for me, I'm to pay.
Yeah,
I'm for to pay.
For you, you're to pay.
Yes.
Okay, let me go to pay or not to pay?
Not paying.
Not paying. Good. Let me come back to Elvis. I mean, what do you think? I mean, this whole hoo-ha, why people are so upset about it?
Well, I think people are upset because I think a lot of people who are upset really have genuine issues, but I don't think that the way they are going about it is the way we should address the issue. It is true that GBC, as we speak now, we can say we are not satisfied as a people with what they are doing. But the mere fact that we compare them to other public broadcasters around the world and say that if GBC is a public broadcaster, why is it not doing this that these people are doing elsewhere? That is an admission that we believe that we need a very strong, effective, independent public broadcaster in Ghana. So for me, the fact that we are comparing them, that if they are a true public broadcaster, they should have been doing ABC that other public broadcasters are doing, then it means that's an admission that we need them. And from my point of view, a nation needs a public broadcaster that is very strong, effective, efficient, and serves the people and not power brokers and politicians. And for that reason, I believe that we should pay. But when people just want to say we should not pay at all, then I said, how do you expect what you want from them if you say we shouldn't pay at all? What will they do if they don't have the resources to do it? Government of Ghana, before they went to parliament to ask that Ghanaians should pay TV license, have the option to say that we do not want Ghanaians to pay TV license. Government will provide the funding protected by law to GBC and make sure that GBC does what a public broadcaster is expected to do. But our government did not choose that option. And when the bill went to parliament, our MPs also did not choose that option. They chose the option that we, the individuals, must pay. So they passed the TV license law, which is an admission that government is not in the position to fund GBC the way it should for it to operate as a public broadcaster. So if we are supposed to pay, and we are being asked to pay, what should we expect if we should pay? For me, that is where I think the debate should be. If I hear people say, well, I like BBC, they do this, they do that, they do that, they do that. So I like them, but GBC is not able to do it. Then I ask myself, you want to buy a Jaguar, you don't have the money, and you say, I want to buy a Jaguar, how do you buy it? It is when you have the money that you can go and buy a Jaguar. Then you say, I can buy it. Today, Nana, fine broadcaster. Then the public broadcaster say, I want to be more competitive and even watch more than others. I want to go and poach Nana to come to me. How does GBC do it if they don't have the money? But another private broadcaster will come and poach you to their network because they believe that you, your program, your producers and yourself, you've made your program the toast of the people. There was a pay round in UK recently about how much certain presenters and producers are paid at BBC. The MPs and everybody took it up. When BBC was asked for explanation, he said, have you checked the ratings of those programs? They said yes. Have you compared to their competitors? They said yes. What is your view? So that program is good, we like it, we watch the lot. He said, you see, in the media and in broadcasting, it's a talent industry. It's the producer and the presenter who make the program what you think is good and is. So if we are not able to pay what our competitors in the private sector are paying, those brains that have made the program what it is for you to be enjoying will be poached by the private sector. And if they go, what happens to the program? So we prefer to pay those people even more than our director general, so that you will have the kind of quality you need so that you enjoy our programs. And when the explanation was that people get to understand, okay, if you don't do it, look at the UK and look at the competition from the big conglomerates in UK in terms of media. They would have taken up those presenters and producers and they would have been far away. And we should understand that, see, a public broadcaster is a public broadcaster. There are things that a private broadcaster can do, a public broadcaster cannot do. Because I am doing as a private broadcaster for a reason. But for a public broadcaster, there are so many things they cannot do. I asked somebody this afternoon, can GBC say, Anas, the work we are doing is so beautiful. We want to take you on as a staff. Every year, produce 2 of your projects for us. Anas will present a budget. If Anas say each project will cost 500,000 cedis for me to produce, will GBC be able to pay? GBC, if it's not in a position to pay, they can. But if they have the money, they can bring Anas on board. They can get all the talent and the finest broadcasters and the finest producers to give us the quality that you and I yearn for and say, if BBC is doing it and you are a public broadcaster, you must do it. But the bottom line, to me, is money. And the competition you talked about between public and private broadcasters, it is existing because we have a lapse in our broadcasting system in Ghana. The broadcasting bill has been prepared with all the best brains that when it is passed, clearly spells out what a public broadcaster can do and cannot veer into the path of a private broadcaster. So some of the competition or some of the things we see, for instance, competing for revenue, once that law is passed, bill is passed into law, you don't have that because clear mandate to be given to GBC, clear mandate to be given to community broadcasters, clear mandate to be given to private broadcasters. So that issue of GBC also chasing same adverts that the private sector will virtually be addressed when the law is passed. But the question is, those of us who are saying we shouldn't pay, we are not asking why Parliament is not passing that bill into law to tell us that this is the mandate of a public broadcaster and therefore this is what they must do. So because that bill has not been passed, there is a lacuna in the system. Let
me bring Kweku in here. Kweku, that's a fine argument why we should pay.
Well, I think, Nana, in principle, I believe that it's a good thing for the public to fund the public broadcaster. Because we all know that the saying that it's who pays the piper that calls the tunes. We know how politicians have hijacked the state broadcaster. I mean, it's about which party is in power, you know. So in an era of free media, we're all preaching that media should be free. Our media should be devoid of any governmental control. So it will be a good thing to have this money from the public to cushion GBC to do its work without any interference from the government of the day. Again, GBC is the only broadcaster that has the mandate to do certain things that, for instance, they show a lot of programs, for instance, Showcase in Dagbani. I'm sure a lot of private media houses wouldn't bother. But GBC has the mandate because there are a lot of Ghanaians who have to be educated if they cannot read or write. That's the only language. So definitely it makes a lot of sense for the public to support because we have to be able to protect minority groups and all that. You know, private media houses don't have the mandate to do that, to protect minority groups and all that. So in a sense, we all agree. But now let's come to why we are here. The public is saying that we don't think that our money is going to be put into any good use if we put it into such a venture. Now, why is the public saying that? See, he mentioned BBC. It's instructive to know that there was a time in the history of the British people where there were people complained about the money that they were paying to the BBC. People said, why can't they go on the market and compete just like the rest? So a committee was set up to investigate the issue and find out whether the British people still want to pay. Well, the good thing is that when the committee went out, the views from the public was that even if we were left with our last penny, we will fund the BBC. That is the British people. Why did they say that? Because the BBC had delivered even with, if you like, the little that they had, and the people had no problem giving them more. Okay, let's come back to our situation. Take the GBC, for instance. The GBC is one of the most resource media houses in Ghana. No doubt about that. They have a lot of equipment, but Ghanaians don't think that even with what we have given them, they are giving us, you know, what we are due. So there are a lot of crappy stuff on GBC.
Let me acknowledge two guests on the phone, and I'll come back to you. Right. So I want to acknowledge former Director General Mr. William Ampem Darko, and also Executive Secretary for NMC Samuel Sapon. Gentlemen, you're welcome. Okay, let's go. I'm sitting on the phone, so when I get them. But okay. Yeah.
So as I'm saying, GBC is one of the most resource in terms of equipment and stuff, media houses in Ghana. You know, but compare what GBC does to what the little small private stations do. Let's take, for instance, last year. We were there when GBC, the state broadcaster, with all its resources, came out to tell us that Thabo Mbeki was dead. Thabo Mbeki is a former South African president. He's a big person, and any person who has done any little journalism knows how to cross-check this fact. The news came out somewhere mid-morning on social media. Somebody definitely created this stuff and wanted to play some pranks. And it's amazing that GBC broadcast that news 7 p.m. From mid-morning up to 7 p.m., GBC is telling me that 8 people could not do a simple cross-check. You don't need to take an airplane to South Africa. You don't need a TV license to do this cross-checking. So definitely the Ghanaian people do not think that even with the little that you have, you are giving us what we deserve. Why should we add more? Why do you think that if we give you more, so the chicken and egg situation that you talked about is here? The people are saying, listen, give us more so that we can have some confidence in you. The British people had confidence in the BBC because the BBC had delivered, varied content and all that. As of now, it's not about the money. People are saying that, look, there are so many memes on social media with GBC and all the stuff. Of course, all media houses make mistakes. But people think that when it comes to GBC, it's as if people don't care. And that is not good enough. And then when we talk about motivation, we just got to know the money that is being paid is not going to GBC. It's going into a consolidated fund. Now, it does not belong to GBC at that time. It belongs to the government. The government is going to control it. So GBC is going to have to go and then justify why they have to be given the money. Now, if GBC is telling me they want to be weaned of government control, we are going back to government control. So it will not be a public broadcasting system. It's still going to be a state broadcaster because you're still going back to the same politicians, the same people to what? To justify. We have seen a lot of that happening with the NHIS. The money is paid and still the hospitals are not getting it. Get fund, money is paid. People, the schools are not getting it because they paid into the consolidated fund. And so if that is how it is going to become, the GBC cannot tell us that they are going to wean themselves of government control. And so all these things will have to be addressed.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that is why I mentioned the broadcasting bill. And Mr. Mpimdaku, we get him online. He made fantastic suggestions. Okay, we need something like a trust fund that the money will go into, that will be managed by a trust, not by government. And all these things, funding mechanism for the public broadcaster, are all clearly spelled out in the broadcasting bill.
So let's not put the cart before the horse.
Push Parliament to pass the bill. The bill is ready. It's been in Parliament for maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 years. It's not been passed. Why? Let's push them.
Elvis, my next question is to you. I mean, I don't want to compare GBC to BBC, but there are so many media houses in Ghana today. There are even some that just popped up, probably 2, 3 years ago, who have far wider viewership. With the smaller reach they have more viewership than the nationwide broadcaster. Yes, so hold that. I don't even want to go to GBC yet. But then this is a press release from GBC, and says, the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation has noted with concern the public apprehension with which has been precipitated by television license fee, its collection, and the possibility of prosecution. The television license fee promulgated under the NLCD 89 has, as amended, requires all owners of television set to pay a license fee of 36 Ghana cedis per set and 60 Ghana cedis for 2 or more a year. This is regulated under LI 2216. But of critical importance to the board of GBC is the feedback from the public, which it considers rich and informative, to the extent that GBC wants to assure the general public that its primary concern is to encourage all and sundry to voluntarily pay the TV license fee and not to necessarily hold persons before the law courts for prosecution. The board and management further states that although GBC is mandated to collect the fee by law, a responsibility that would not be renegade on, the corporation, in order to release that objectives, would intensify its education and ensure easy access to pay point of license fee. While encouraging all to pay the TV license fee, it is important to state that GBC, as a public broadcaster, when adequately funded by the public, would be weaned of commercial advertising, since program diversity and quality should not be driven on the wheels of commercial concerns. The board and management wishes to state that, like older public service broadcasters such as BBC in the UK, NHK in Japan, and ABC Australia, GBC also carries a constitutional mandate that must reflect the economic, cultural, and political aspirations of all Ghanaians. This mandate is reflected in our obligation to cover national events, promote inclusion, and drive the nation's development effort. GBC is therefore assuring the public that, as critical partners for its success and sustenance, the public is urged to engage the corporation to ensure that their concern with respect to GBC's operations are seriously addressed. The board and management of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation take this opportunity to wish the cherished viewers and listeners a Happy New Year. Dr. Kwame Ekufu-Anof Nto, Director General.
It's in right, I think it's the right direction.
So that's the new release. They're not going to take anybody to court, but they are urging us to pay. But what I am saying is, what I'm asking is, cut Joy, you know, they are all other media houses, and they are getting more viewership.
Yes.
So, you know, with or without the TV line, assuming government says, look, that's it, you're not getting any TV license. Maybe 30% of your programming should be for the minority, 70% you control it. Why should GBC not make it?
And that is the issue. So you see, when we say pay TV license, we also admit that GBC will need a total overhaul. But as you say, in private person, when private person is doing business, the bottom line is I'm going to make this and that at the end of the day. When you go to GBC, because of government influence, ask the number of staff who are on GBC payroll, and you'll be shocked. Why? Where did they get there? Because somebody sitting somewhere has influence and say, employ this person at this time, put this person at this time, put this person at this time. But when the institution become out of any government control, because I don't need budget from you. You are not the one going to approve my budget. I have my money. I have a complete independent body that now actually supervise my work and actually audit me based on what I do. I will no longer take any directive from anybody, whoever is anybody in government or whatever he thinks is a big man. Because now my interest is the public. But when somebody determines your budget,
on the 3rd of June,
when somebody determines your budget,
when the whole nation was mourning the Circle fire, every TV station you tuned to was doing a sermon or something to commemorate the event. You know, GBC was showing a sci-fi.
And that's what I'm saying. See, these are the reasons you and I believe that. That's what I'm telling you, that this is why we believe that we need an effective public broadcaster.
But I think you asked the question that why would you need TV license not to show such a
it's
big
not
event?
about TV license. The work culture at the place, the whole place, as I'm saying, if we pay the TV license, now you and I can say this is the way GBC must operate. GBC, I remember, and I read about it some years back, a work was done that they need to let a certain number of staff go so that the payroll can come to a certain level, and they can do the work if they manage well. They got to the point where they say, okay, we are ready to do it, but then those we have to let go, we have to give them severance package. The money is not in the account. Let's go back to government and find they can give us the money to do the severance package for the people to go, for us to do the restructuring. That money for the severance package never came. So at the end of the day, the inefficiencies that they want to control, for which reason they need to take certain steps, the finances they need to be able to undertake that restructuring is not available. So you are stick with the same situation, you know the solutions. The way to fix the solution is to get the resources to do it, and you are not getting it. How do you do it? That's why I say that it's unfortunate that we are talking about this thing at a time that we don't have a trust that is going to manage the money. We don't have an independent board that supervises GBC's entire operations. If we have these things in place, And we have the broadcasting bill, as their statement actually said. If the broadcasting bill is passed into law, GBC will be doing total public broadcasting. It will never be in the market looking for any commercial to place on any program. He admits that GBC will do a program on in Dagbani, in Eve, in that. Ask yourself, how many of the commercial broadcasters we are talking about do the kind of program that he himself has admitted to, because these are minorities in society which must also not be left out.
I'm sure if you go to the Dagbani people, they are also kicking off saying, look, probably, maybe we don't understand Dagbani. Probably even the Dagbani programs to scratch.
Who will come and sponsor you? So you see, for me, the issue is, I am saying that it is, as even he himself has said, we all agree that we need an effective public broadcaster. How do we achieve it? We can achieve it by empowering the public broadcaster, taking it out of, giving them financial independence, political independence, and there should be no any influence. This can only be done when the broadcaster says, I have this amount of money I'm spending. I have read BBC's audited accounts for 2016-2017, which is published for the whole world to read and say, this is how much BBC made. These are the various programs they did. And each program is costed and how much money they spent on each program. So the public know that, okay, the money we are paying, it is because of that money we have this program, we have this program, we have this, so it is worth paying. But nobody can tell BBC what to do. I remember very well when the document that was doctored to go to Iraq war, BBC was the first media house to break the news. When they broke the news and it became a major issue in the world, the director then of GBC came under a lot of pressure. But because he said, look, you are not the one who gives me the money to work, the public gives me money to work. And the public is my interest. So if there's an issue, whether UK government is part of the countries that doctored the information to go to Iraq, it's not my business. My business is to let the public to know what has happened. And they defended themselves for taking that decision. BBC has a program called Panorama.
Koku, do you think
I don't know how many people watch Panorama.
Koku,
Panorama can travel to about 4 countries, 5 countries to do one 30-minute production. Look at the cost involved. But when you watch it, you are happy that this is a quality production. It's because the money is there. Okay, without the money, they can't do it.
Okay, let me come to Koku. Koku, do you think at least we should get some sort of schedule to say, listen, when TV licenses start coming in, at least this is what you will see on your screen. Maybe, take off alcohol adverts, take off tobacco adverts, something. They should give us some assurance that, look, if you give us this TV license, if we get 30%, this is what we can do. If we get 50%, this is what we can produce. I don't know, something.
Well, Nana, see, I can't have a saying that, see, you are not going to give more money to someone who is not able to account properly or making good use of the little money he has. It's a disaster. So, you see, GBC, he admits that has too many people working there for very little that they are showing us. I mean, if you look at how many people are in the private media houses compared to GBC, it's staggering that they are the last people to come with the news. If something breaks right now, we cannot tell that GBC will be the last person, the last station to show it. Do you understand? So, if there's so many people there who are doing so little, do we solve that problem, or we add more money so that we will do more messing up? No. Let's clear the mess, okay? GBC now has how many channels? About 5 channels, right? It used to be GTV. Now they have Sports Plus, GBT Live, Govern, and so all that. Now all these people that we are saying are overstaffed. Let's spread them. We shouldn't employ any more people, so that we spread them out. No, we spread them out to all the channels, so that this overstaffing that we are talking about, and then
that was before they had the new channels.
Yes, now they have the new channel. Yeah. I'm just saying that there's a lot of things GBC must do before they come to the public that give us money. We are putting the cart before the horse. You yourself admit.
I said you need the money to do it. If they say, for example, they want to do the redundancy, and the packages for the redundancy is about money, and they don't have any money to pay the redundancy.
You don't even need the redundancy because now you have more channels. So spread the people across the channels. You don't need to do the redundancy.
That is what is agreed, that even with all the channels, let's assume, I said this work was done before the more the channels, but let's even assume that even with more the channels, they still need to do a redundancy, and the ability is not there to do it. How do you do it? You see, for me, the issue is not, as you say, I think GBC management, the statement they issued is good, as you are asking. For me, I would prefer if GBC can tell me that, look, by the end of 2018, we will publish our audited accounts for the whole Ghana to know how much money we make. Based on that, when we see the revenue that's made, we can tell you that we have invested in program A, B, C, D, and you should expect this and that and that. Then, even before the broadcasting bill is passed, even before a trust is put in place, even before we have a committee that will oversee their operation, they themselves internally will begin to let the public have this confidence that if you pay the TV license, we'll give you the audited accounts to read, to know how much came in and what we spend the money on. Nobody can say GBC there is mismanagement there as we speak. Why? Because you and I have never read GBC's audited accounts to know that this is how much came in, how they spend the money is not justified, and therefore there is a mismanagement at the place. As we speak, GBC is in debt of about 60 million. And when you speak, they say they have their audited account, which they send to the Auditor General every year, and that if we want it, we should go and ask the Auditor General about GBC's account. So if anybody says GBC is mismanaging, until the evidence comes to show that they are mismanaging money, you and I cannot say, because there's no evidence to that effect.
Nobody's talking about money. We are talking about
let me take a quick
GBC issue.
I'll take a quick break, and then when I come back, the issue about their bragging rights of reach. And I'm talking about not the TV side, but I was talking about the radio side, where I was asking, why don't you tell people that this is the reach? And he says, oh, it's not our policy. I found it a bit strange. I'm coming straight back. Well, the show actually never stopped. It was just a commercial, but the show was still running in the back, very live and heated as to whether to pay or not to pay. Should they change the attitude before we pay, or should they pay before they change the attitude? That's been the issue. Very soon, joining us on the phone will be President of GIBA, Andrew Danso Eninkra. So when he comes on the phone, we will talk to him. He's on. Oh, yes, he's on the phone. Hello, Andrew. Welcome.
Thank you, Nana.
I can barely hear. Can you turn it up a little bit for me?
Okay.
Andrew, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
No, because I can't hear. Okay, Andrew.
Yes, please.
Oh, thank you very much. I can hear you now. We are discussing to pay or not to pay, and basically it's now turned to, do we pay before attitude change, or they should change the attitude before we pay for this TV license? And I know that GIBA was supposed to get a certain percentage of this, which has been withdrawn. But overall, what's your position on this TV license issue?
Yeah, we've been saying one thing. The fact that it's been called a TV license, the fact that it is a levy, the fact that it's a tax, and we are of the view that there is no way we can make money to undertake any developmental project we want to undertake in the country without asking the citizens to contribute, as it were. So if there is something in place that is in the form of a tax that goes to help some developmental agenda, developmental activity, and the people sign onto it, they accept it, they agree, they understand it, they keep their eyes on it, then definitely it is a good move. Now, when you introduce something you call a tax, and the people, or let's say levy, and you get people rising up against it, it is always good to let them understand, because after all, these are the people who are giving you that particular money. So it is important that you get them to understand. And our stand had always been that if we know what we are using it for, and the people are signing onto it, then it is a good thing. When the people say we are not ready to give you that money, and you believe it is for the good of the people, then it is good for you to go back to them. However, whichever way, whatever it takes, go back to the people, get them to understand you. At a point in time, GBC went through this phase Probably it wasn't a levy. Probably it wasn't a tax. But at a point in time when GBC needed public support to change over from black and white to color, we got people signing onto it to help GBC do this exercise. And once we have it on record that it was a successful exercise, it is possible to get GBC to do what they want to do. Now, probably let's forget about GBC in this particular case, but let's talk about the state broadcaster. Let's talk about the public broadcaster. Probably we can have more than one public broadcaster, but whatever it takes, we have to go back to the people and tell the people what we are using it for. Tell the people, convince the people, get the people to sign on to it, get the people to own it. And it makes our work easier when we are collecting it from them. Unfortunately, yes, GIBA is not getting a percentage. But the point is this, the whole country, including GIBA, stands to gain if we get to where we want to get to, as far as this is concerned. So for us in GIBA, it is a good thing. Let us all sign on to it, but let us tread cautiously. Let us talk to the people. If we find out that we are putting too much load on the citizen, let us discuss it. Let us find what we can take out, how long we can do this, and get to where we want to get to. This is our contribution.
Just a quick one before you go, and if you can just sum it up for me. I mean, generally people are worried about the attitude and don't think they're getting value for money. Number one, should the GBC give us something to say, listen, if you give me maybe 30% or 50% or start paying, this is what I can provide? Or should they give us 3-6 months and say, look, watch how we change things and then pay the money? Or we should pay, sit at home and wait for the attitude to change?
So it is important for GBC to listen to what people have said so far. In fact, presently, social media is awash with some mistakes that they've been seeing GBC do. I think it is time for them to sit down. If we say we are going to wait for change before we pay, what change are we expecting? How far do we want it? If you're asking people to pay, what are they paying for? What are they expecting? I think we need to do the two together at the same time. That is my opinion. First and foremost, GBC needs to buy the goodwill of the people. They need to buy the confidence of the people. They need to buy the trust of the people who are giving them the money. There needs to be some kind of attitudinal change. We need to change our attitude towards the people. We need to be seen, engaging. We used to have GBC fan clubs all over the place. Where are they now? Call them back. Let them get them out on the street. Let them ask questions. What do you want? People in this area, how do you want to see GBC? I mean, let the people speak to you, respond to them. Let them be part of your programming activity. Get them involved. At the same time, whip them get them interested in paying. You will get the money you are looking for. For me, putting fear on the people, threatening them with being taken to court and being jailed for just 30 cedis. Yes, they will give you the money. But you know the way we do it. As we are paying, we are pronouncing our words.
Thank you very much for that insight. Thank you very much. This is a message all the way from Wale Wale. This is from Samuel in Wale Wale. And Samuel says, good evening, Nana. Let's not condemn GBC in totality or poor service. I'm even surprised that other media houses are making a mockery of this issue. GTV is the only TV station that provides the services of sign language interpreters, which cater for the hearing impaired as a minority group. That alone is a plus. Samuel in Wale Wale. That's what his take is.
I mentioned that per their standing, they take care of minority groups. We are aware of all that. But we're saying that there are a lot of things that have to be done before you can get the confidence that you need. He talked about the BBC. The BBC people, the British people themselves said,
if they get the money, assuming we wake up on Monday and we've all said, oh yeah, that's a good idea, let's all go and give them, this 30 CDs. You said how many TVs are in Ghana? 2 million?
According to a work done by SES, it's about flash screen alone, about even 6 million. I just got to the data. Not long. Yeah, it's about 6 million. Yeah, according to I think I can get information here, and I'll give it to you.
6 million times.
That's a lot of money. But I'm saying that GBC can start tomorrow and say, hey, even before you give us the money, we have started restructuring things. We have started giving you what you asked for, because you can't come and say we want to serve you better, and the people said we are not interested, and you want to still push it on them because you haven't given them what they need with the little that you have, and there's no reason they're going to add more to it. Look, even when you look at the law, 1966, which, you know, some amendment in 1991, the only thing they touched was the fee, but there are a lot of stuff, even the definition of a TV set. You know, your flat screen may not even qualify to be a TV set by that definition. They should have done that homework long time before you come. So if they want to start implementing these things, there will be a lot of bottlenecks. And I think that they put the cart before the horse. GBC need to sit down, management need to sit up, attitude need to start changing. If they're overstaffed, they have now 6 or 5 channels, they should spread them out and make sure that we don't have people sitting idle, you know, sitting in the studio and still not getting us, you know, the content that we need. When the news breaks, as I said, you know, and it's common knowledge that when news breaks, GBC, with all the number of people there, with all the equipment, will be the last person, the last media house to report it. It doesn't speak well of a state broadcaster. So definitely Ghanaians will revolt if you want to force this thing down your throat.
Do you think money can change the attitude?
No, as I said, we need to do the things simultaneously. For me, that is my view. Once they say we should pay and we are paying, I expect GBT management also to come out and say, look, we think Ghanaians are paying and we appreciate, we want them to continue to pay. From now to the end of the year, we are promising that you will see change A, B, C, D in our work. So then the person says, okay, then I'm going to pay to see whether I really see that change. And then if I really see the change, then the following year we all must have to go and pay so that they can give us more. So I think that it is true that GBC has challenges. And nobody is saying that, as I said, because once somebody says, why is GBC not operating like public broadcaster A or B, it's an admission that we all believe that this country needs a true public broadcaster with a clear mandate, which they must strictly follow. So if we all agree to that, now that they want to implement it and we have started paying, I expect GBC with the statement they have even given.
Saying that if we collect the money and still give it to the politician, then you haven't given him that.
He has made that it has to change.
That is what I'm saying. That
so
that
they have to do that before they come to us.
Because if I'm paying money, it's going to a consolidated fund. As I said, as for Ghana consolidated fund, every man that goes there,
bottleneck.
It's difficult for it to come back. So that's why I said that, like the changes we are talking about, that we need a trust fund that will manage all the TV licenses that we pay in Ghana. And they are the ones that will hold the money.
So do that before you come.
Present their plan.
Do that before you come for the money.
We need 100 million Ghana cedis. This is how we are going to spend it. These are the programs we have. Each one will cost this amount. Because when you look at the annual report of BBC, every single program on BBC, whether radio, TV, online, is costed as to how much money they are spending on that project. So if GBC is able to do that to the trust fund, then the trust fund, okay, based on this you want to do, they are all in line with your mandate. So we're going to release the money to you. When at the end of the day you finish spending the money, you bring your audited accounts for us to see how you actually spend the money based on the plan you brought to us. So for me, I will urge GBC management that the statement they have issued now that people should not feel that they will be taken to jail is very good. But they should go a step further to tell us that if we actually pay the money that they are asking us to pay, we should expect this and these changes. Then they are giving us an assurance that our money will be used well. And as I said, as media, we should also ask the members of parliament to pass the broadcasting bill. Because for now, GBC is a confused broadcaster. Whether it's a state broadcaster, whether it's a government-owned broadcaster.
And you are saying we should give them more money in the confusion.
Law did not specify. In fact, in the whole of Africa, in real literature by UNESCO, it tells you that South Africa has a clear example. They have 3 different clear legislations. Community broadcasting has its own legislation. Public broadcasting has its own legislation. Commercial broadcasting has its own legislation. So if you go to South Africa, everybody is in its queue doing what the law says it must do. But in Ghana today, even the private broadcasters, sometimes we are confused because our mandate is not clearly spelled out to us in law. So if that law has been done and is sitting in Parliament for a number of years and still is not being passed, I think that once we are putting pressure on GBC that they must change, the reform must come, which we all agree must come, we must also put pressure on Parliament
Aren't you confirming Kweku's worry that once you have all this confusion and nothing is said,
solve it first? That is my issue.
Let's do it concurrently. Don't say that we should wait till this is solved before we do this.
But who wants to pay money into a confusion?
We should understand that as the Giba representative said, the law is already in place. That is a tax and you must pay. I don't think that today you are going to say that because you drive on roads and there are potholes on the road, the aspect of tax put on petrol for you that government takes directly that they are going to use to fix road, because you drive on a very bad road, when you are going to buy petrol, they should deduct that road fund aspect from the petrol, because it is tax, it is law. Until that law is repealed, it remains law and everybody must obey. But once we are obeying the law, we put pressure on government and fix the potholes. So once we obey the law of GBC and pay the license, I think that all civil society and the media, we need to have a certain strong voice, and even if there's a coalition.
So going back to my opening statement where I said that, government has the power and therefore says, look, I have the power, I am charging you. As to whether I provide you the service or not, I am charging you. And I can state so many things where there are charges, but there are no service being provided.
And that is why when we are talking about GBC, I say, this is a great opportunity for all of us to even go further and say, look, every state institution that receives money from government, every year they must make their audited accounts public for the whole of Ghana. Because even though we are not paying direct, it's our taxes that is being used to fund all of them. So if we are demanding that because our money will be going to GBC, we want ABCD, then we should also go further. And every MDA, every state institution, every SOE that government is putting money into, every single one of them must publish their audited accounts for us to know that indeed the money that government has taken from the consolidated fund, which is you and I, our taxes, or money generated for our natural resources that is giving them, we must see the audited accounts, because we are asking that from GBC because we are now going to pay. I realize that in Ghana, if the citizens are not directly paying from their pockets,
I was just going to
then
say
we are not really going to demand accountability for that, because it's from tax, a consolidated fund or tax money. We don't really ask, but once we are asked to pay, in fact, they told us if government had decided they were going to use our tax money to pay, probably we may not have fought it, but because we were going to pay from our own pocket, we were fighting it. So I think that we should understand that whether we pay directly from our pocket or it is coming from consolidated, it is still our money. So long as we will be asking these questions from GBC, why are we not asking the same question from other state institutions? We have states who are indebted to $100 million, $200 million, and we are still going to use oil money or something to go and pay that, and nobody is asking.
I think you're making a good argument, but unfortunately, GBC has a direct emotional connection.
That's why we have to remove the
other institutions may be able to, hide, but GBC can't.
That is why this issue, I've told some people that say, don't let us discuss it with emotions. Let's follow the fact. Let's all agree that we need
once you're taking money,
you're
taking emotions.
But if we need it, this is what we expect from you, so you must do it. Then we must hold them accountable.
Once you're taking money, you're taking my emotion.
Listen, I am saying that he himself is actually supporting the point I'm making. Look, we can't put money into confusion. That money is going down and is not coming. We're not going to get any results. He admits that if they're going to pay the money into a consolidated fund where some politician is now going to determine when you get it, it is still the same old story that we want to prevent. So fix that first. He admits that the broadcasting law that spells out what every media house has to do, what is a state broadcaster, what is a public broadcaster, community, institutional, and all these have to come in to clear all the confusion. Let's do that first. I think that the GBC management admits from the tone, they are telling us that, look, we think that there's some work to be done. We're not going to come and harass you. We're going to do enough to boost the confidence that you have in us so that the next time we are going to do more education and we are going to try to justify why you should pay. I think that should be the way to go. You can't come and, muscle your way through. If the people don't want to pay, they don't want to pay. Listen, it is a law, but there are so many laws that are not even implemented. We can talk about the death penalty and all those things. These are laws. We are not implementing them. It's not going to kill anybody. So once we realize that, fine, it is a law, it is there. And I even think that the law, they have to, do some repeal and amendment, because the definition of television sets and stuff are all old, obsolete definitions. Okay? So let GBC do all these things and then come back to the people and say, look, I think we've cleared our doubts. Let's go. And I think that Ghanaians wouldn't resist it the way they are resisted.
No, the only aspect GBC will do is improve on production and content. When they want to set up a trust fund, it's not GBC's duty. It is the state that sets up a trust funds to manage institutions.
GBC doesn't need money to publish its audited accounts. It doesn't need money.
You need money to
TV
hire
license.
You need money to hire the firm that will audit you.
They are being audited all the time.
Not only by.
I'm talking about publishing it.
You understand it? If you want to publish it, you need to pay. No, but I am saying that if
put it online,
publishing,
put it online.
Elvis, agree that we need a strong public broadcast. Yeah, let's come to that point. We all agree that we need a strong.
Yeah, but we don't throw money away just because we need a strong public.
The challenges that are there should be fixed before.
And that's what we should do.
I'm saying that let's pay and fix the problem at the same time. So let's do both concurrently. For me, that is my point. I believe that without money, they cannot fix a lot of the challenges that you are asking for.
See, today, nobody is saying that somebody's misappropriated money at GBC. So even if they brought their audited account today, I'll look at it and say, oh yeah, every penny went. But I raised an issue that on the 3rd, when the nation was mourning, the death of such tragedy, they were showing a sci-fi. So how pleased would I be at an audited account that, they used, say, 1,000
CDs. You mentioned this thing, you mentioned.
Yes,
you speak to people.
You say.
So they'll say that they paid 1,000 CDs to air that sci-fi.
Nana, you know that you are here. When you're going to do a live broadcast, you need a satellite link. That satellite link that to be uploaded, you need to pay. If at that time,
you don't need a satellite link. You just bring guests into studio.
No. You are talking about.
This is editorial decision.
Equipment, they are more equipped.
Look, when you are talking about live, a lot of people talk about maybe for the Circle Fire. They want GBC to show it live, like Multi TV will be there showing them how the fire is happening. Multi TV as a private broadcaster probably at that time can find the money quickly to say we can get the satellite uplink to get you that information. When Malcolm collapsed, we can find the money to give you because we think that's what the public needs. GBC said we need it. We think the public need it, but we can't find the money to go and get a satellite uplink to give it to you. So
this is not an issue of money at all. This is not an issue of money. Let me tell you.
No, what do you mean it's not an issue of money?
Hold on.
If you are going to the satellite uplink to get a live feed. Let me tell you
why it's not an issue of money. There are other media houses that were broadcasting that were not necessarily live. Their media men go there and collect the stuff and run back to the studio, download it, and put it on air.
That is not live.
No, but show us something, not a cipher.
So I understand. That's what I'm saying. That I hold the position that we are paying, and let's ask GBC to solve the problem. But the only problem GBC can solve, as we are talking about, is just to improve on their output in terms of content. But if we are talking about a trust fund that should manage the money that we are paying, it is not GBC. Somebody has to put it up as state, send it to Parliament for it to be passed into law.
That's what time will allow us.
An independent board.
To pay or not to pay. To pay before the attitude change, or the attitude should change before we pay. Either way we'll pay, but we'll find a fine line somewhere in the middle to pay. Or maybe as we are paying, the attitude will be changing as well. But, I think it's a good idea to have a strong broadcasting, independent broadcaster that can, really educate the nation and change and help developmental agendas, but show us something, and then we'll also show you something. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's what time will allow us. We'll be back to do this all over again. Thank you very much for watching.